Hi everyone, welcome back to episode 13 of the Hive Knits and Natters podcast with me, Lizzie, the maker behind Hive Knits. You can find me on Instagram as Hive Knits and also on Ravelry as Hive Knits. Hi, it's really nice to be back chatting with everybody for episode 13. If you're new around here, then hello and welcome. My name's Lizzie. I'm a knitter and knitwear designer based in Manchester in the UK. I work as a doctor to fund my yarn habit, and when I'm not doctoring, I am knitting. If you have seen one of my episodes before, then hello again, welcome back. Hope everyone is doing well. I'm back with another episode only just shy of a month after I filmed the last one, so we're doing better. Probably reflective of the fact that I finished 80! Yay! Anyone that's been sort of hanging about on my Instagram recently will know that a week ago? God, it's only a week ago. Just over a week ago, I finished my last shift in A&E and I'm really happy about it. I am training to be a GP or a family or community doctor, or however the equivalent is whatever title the equivalent has in the country in which you live. And as part of that training, we do our first part of our training in hospitals, and then about halfway through we move to work in GP practices in the community. And so that's where I'm at right now. I started at my practice last week and everyone seems really friendly, and it's just nice. It's going to be a different kind of tough, but it's nice to at least have my weekends and evenings back for now. I think I confused a lot of people when I said that I'd finished working in hospital. I had quite a lot of people send me a message on Instagram and ask if I'd retired or given up being a doctor, which isn't true, don't worry. We're still here, still doctoring. But I've just kind of finished a bit of a landmark in my training. So sorry for any confusion, and I certainly haven't retired. I wish, not quite old enough yet. But yes, that did make me chuckle. So yeah, that's the big news. Because of having a bit more routine and stability in life, i.e. less random shifts like I was working in A&E and in the hospital, I'm hoping to be able to podcast a little bit more regularly. I'm aiming for every 3 to 4 weeks. I don't know if that's going to happen, not putting myself under any particular pressure, but hopefully it won't just be months that you don't hear from me. So that's the plan. A slightly strange setup today in that for some reason my camera, you have your camera with obviously the lens at the front, and then you have the screen, you have your viewfinder, but what I tend to look at things on the screen, and then that screen is meant to flip round 180 degrees so I can see myself on the viewfinder whilst I'm looking at the lens. Although I have a really bad habit of looking at myself on the screen and not at the lens, but that's another story. Well, today, as a little spicy surprise, my camera, when I flip the screen out 180 degrees, my image is stuck upside down. It seems to be glitching. So when I flip the screen, it's not flipping the image. So right now I'm looking at myself upside down and it's really, really disorientating. I've been playing around with it for 15-20 minutes and I can't be bothered any longer. I don't know how to fix it. I just want to get on with this episode. So just if I do anything that's a bit weird or I look like I'm just a bit distracted, then just as you're watching this, just picture the fact that as I look at myself, I'm hanging from the ceiling like a bat. So just have that in mind and please bear with. So that's that to get out of the way. Today's episode, I've got one finished object. Well, basically finished. I'm classing it as finished. I still have some finishings to do, but I'm classing it as finished because it's been such a big deal. And then a bit of a WIP update. And then I'm going to talk about some autumn knitting plans or fall knitting plans, or however you talk about the change of season in the country in which you live. The irony of doing that as we kind of move into maybe a bit of another heat wave is not lost on me. And I'm pretty warm as I sit here in this cardigan, so I may have to shed it. I'll talk about this in just a sec. But as I'll get onto in a minute, apart from one WIP, all the things I have on my needles at the moment are like little summer tops, and they're all kind of at similar stages, but I'm hoping that they won't take too long to get them finished now that I've got my the big boy off my needles. And then I was kind of like thinking ahead, like, oh, what am I going to cast on next? I don't want to cast anything else on until they're finished, but I couldn't help but like look ahead. And also I'm kind of in the situation of like, how have I managed to have 3 summer tops still on my needles, not really anywhere near being finished? And we're in August now, well into August, which is like the last month of summer. And I just feel like by the time they're finished, because they're all on quite small needles, summer's kind of going to be over. And I know I can layer them, and I know all the things like that. But I'm also like, if I'd got a bit ahead of the season, maybe I'd have got a bit of wear out of them before the season was over. So what I'm trying to do is get a bit organised for autumn and winter and think ahead now. If that makes sense? I hope that makes sense. And I just thought it might be interesting. I've seen a few people do like seasonal knitting plan videos. I think Emily from High Fibre Knits has done a couple, and Also Knits has done a few as well, and I think they're really interesting. I'm fundamentally a very nosy person. I've said before, I think genuinely that's why I'm a doctor. You can ask people questions and they'll tell you the answer, generally, truthfully. And I just like to know what people are up to. So no one might find this interesting. You might be really uninterested in what I've got planned for autumn, but I'm going to tell you anyway. So yeah, I hope you enjoy, and I hope that it's not weird talking about like autumn and winter knitting when it's really hot. But then I thought, well, I'm preaching to a choir of like knitters. We don't mind a bit of wool when it's warm, or most of us don't. So I think it'll be okay. I didn't mean to do like a big life update now, but that's apparently what's happening. Oh, I think there's a delivery outside for me. One sec. I'm back. I was right. It was a delivery. So this is a random segue, but we have like HelloFresh here in the UK. I don't know if it's elsewhere as well. Probably is. But anyway, it's like a meal delivery company. And they basically deliver you meals like every week. And the guy who delivers ours, now we've moved house, they always get delivered by the same person. And I honestly think he might be the happiest person I've ever met in my whole life. I can always tell, we get it delivered on a Monday when I don't work, so generally I'm here to like receive it and put it in the fridge and stuff. And I can always tell when the delivery's here, because he plays music out of his van so loudly, but like really like cheesy pop. And always has the windows down, so I can hear him before I see him, before he even rings a bell. That's what I could hear then. I heard a van pull up, I heard like cheesy pop tunes, and I was like, oh, I think HelloFresh is here. And yeah, he just has the time of his life. So shout out to him. Anyway, sorry, massive tangent. Yeah, so I didn't mean to give a life update all at the very beginning, because you might not be here for that. But I always put in the description below when the knitting chat starts. So if you're not interested in the live chat, you can just skip using the chapters that YouTube generates for me. So yeah, if you're not interested in this, it will say when the knitting chat starts. I may as well carry on with the live chat now. Main thing to say is that I went to, well, it wasn't a knitting wedding, but it was a wedding of a very dear knitting friend, and other knitters were present. So to me, it was a knitting wedding. The very beautiful Caroline's Knits got married a couple of weeks ago in Edinburgh, and she amazingly, generously invited me and Laura from Penrose Knits and Sophie of the Knit Pearl Girl to the wedding, and it was just the best day ever. Rebecca from the Crayabea also joined us for the evening, and all our respective partners came along, and we just had the best time. It was so fun meeting these people who I've got so friendly with and so close to virtually. In person, I met Sophie for the first time a couple of weeks before, which was lovely to see her again so soon, but I'd never met Caroline, the bride. I'd never met Laura, and I'd never met Rebecca, or any of their partners, obviously. That would be weird. But yes, we had a really lovely time. I'll put in some photos if I haven't already, but Caroline looked absolutely beautiful. Her now husband, Ben, is just so lovely. They are just such a wonderful couple, and it was such a special day. Everything was just perfect. We all said what a lovely wedding it was and how much we enjoyed ourselves, and it was really fun to meet her Danish family as well, and obviously all Ben's family are Scottish, so it was a real mishmash of cultures and traditions. So thank you so much, Caroline, for inviting us to share your day with you. It was beyond a privilege, and we got her, I'm sure you'll see it on her social media at some point, but we did buy her some specially hand-dyed yarn from Zakami Yarns, who are based in Edinburgh, and they dyed a batch of yarn specially for the day, and they called it, the name of the yarn was named after the venue in which Caroline got married. So that's the only batch of that yarn that exists, which is amazing. So yeah, thank you so much, Caroline. Had an amazing time, and I cannot wait to meet up again in future, because I know there will be more. There will be more, watch this space. But yeah, such a good time. Couldn't stop smiling for about 24 hours straight. So I'm going to do something I haven't done in a long time as well, and recommend a podcast. I used to do this every episode. It's kind of just fallen by the wayside, partly because there are so many knitting podcasts now, which is by no means a bad thing, but can be a bit overwhelming at times. And I feel like my reaction to that, with my limited time that I have to sit and watch podcasts, is to stick with my favourites. So I have discovered a few new podcasts, but I do tend to watch the ones that I know, if that makes sense. But I'm going to recommend this one today for a couple of reasons. So first of all, it's my good friend Tom, who is the maker behind Knit Slips. He has he certainly has 2 series of his podcast out, Tom Slips Into Conversation With, and I featured as a guest on the first season back in, when did we film? Last year. So we filmed in January 2021, because I found the recording the other day. And then he released a second season as well, and he is literally on, what day was it? Was it Friday? Sometime over the weekend, he released the first episode of his new series, series 3, and he has partnered up with Wool and the Gang, and they have sponsored the episodes in series 3, which is really cool. And he is chatting with some quite big names in knitting and Knitstagram. The first one was somebody called Jeanette from Knitwear knitting, and I watched it the other day, and it was really cool to see him chat with her. So that episode is out now, and then obviously there'll be more. I don't know if he's doing them weekly or what his plan is, but that season 3 of Tom Slips Into Conversation With is out now. And then very excitingly, on last Monday, a week ago, we, Tom and myself, had a catch-up chat as what's gone on since I was on his podcast originally kind of vibes, which was really, really fun. We kind of caught up over Zoom and like talked about everything that's happened since, and in a way I was like, oh, there's not much that's happened since, but a lot has happened since. From my side, like, it's funny when we recorded that podcast the first time around, I remember holding up the first sweater and it was like in its its initial format, so it was like on the wrong needle size, the sleeves were done in fisherman's rib, not half fisherman's rib, like it hadn't been revised at all, and yeah, it just looked really different, and it was half knit and I was going to rip it back, and obviously it wasn't a pattern or anything yet, and don't know, just talking to him kind of took me back to be like, wow, actually a lot has changed since. Like, my growth on Instagram has been amazing. I've since that initial chat that we had, I've launched my own podcast, and now I'm here filming episode 13. Yeah, it was a really useful exercise in being like, actually a lot has changed, you have achieved a lot, pat on the back from myself. And then from his side, he's got engaged, which is amazing. He's got into sewing a lot more. And we were talking about some of his really exciting sewing related plans. I'm not gonna spill the beans because they're not my beans to spill, but yeah, it was really, really fun to catch up. I don't know when he's gonna release that. That will be an episode for series 4, so he's just airing series 3 now, so I don't know at all when series 4 is going to be live, but just know that that is in the pipeline. And yeah, go check out his series 3. He does his podcast like on YouTube because there is video content, but he also, you can just, if you just want to listen, you can just catch the audio on Spotify and other podcast platforms as well. I'm so sorry, there's like something in my eyelash, probably fluff from yarn. It was both. It was an eyelash and some yarn fluff. So anyway, all good. I can now see, which is great. I can see that there's glare on my glasses, and it's such a bright day outside that I even tried closing the blinds and it just made it dark and there was still glare on my glasses. So sorry about that. I'm a mess today. I'm upside down. There's glare on my glasses. I'm warm. It's all good. This is how we roll. So yeah, that was a very long and rambly introduction with a very long and rambly podcast recommendation, but there we go. So let's quickly talk about what I'm wearing, because I always forget to talk about it. I am wearing, this is very disconcerting when I'm upside down, so I'm just going to look in the lens, my Seasons Change cardigan. I'm just trying to show you the sleeve here, by the Knit Stitch, which I knit ages ago now in like, I think it was a lockdown knit, 2020, the bad times. But yes, this pattern is by Melanie of the Knit Stitch, and I was like, this is the first ever thing that I test knit, which was very, very exciting at the time. It's made in 100% cotton, the We Are Knitters Pima cotton in, I think the colour is olive or olive green. And it has been such a wardrobe staple ever since. Honestly, I wear it so much. It's one of the first like garments I made and I was really proud of, and that is definitely reflected in how much I wear it. It actually needs a wash and reblock because like it folds over, but actually down the front there is like a little ribbed band, but like it just folds under the stockinette and you can't see it. So that needs kind of repinning out really. But yeah, thought I'd pop this on today for our chat. It's cotton, so it's like not too warm, and it's also like got this lovely lace pattern, so it's very breathable for days like this. However, I have had to shut the doors because there were some dogs going a bit mad outside, and also my neighbours are pottering around, and I just feel like they'd look in here and be like, who is she talking to? So I've shut the doors, so if it gets a bit warm I might have to take it off, but we're all good for now. So let's get into the knitty chat. So like I said, I do have one finished object or something I am. Oh, that's the post box. It's all go here, guys. Yeah, it's non-stop at Hive Knits HQ. Yeah, something I am counting as a finished object. And I'm not going to talk loads about it because I want it to have like I'm not wearing it, for example, because it's not quite at that stage yet. And I want it to have its own episode talking more about it. But just know that the first cardigan is finished. Well, all the knitting is finished and all the reworks are done. Last episode I had done one sleeve and was in the process of knitting the second sleeve, but the length of sleeve one was not right, so I was going to have to go back and redo it, which I've done, and then the second sleeve now matches and it's blocked, and yeah, it is really, really great. You can see these very, very dramatic half fisherman's rib sleeves, the little curves, a little close up. Now this is going to be very tricky doing this when it's upside down. Let's experiment. There, you can see there. The sleeves are actually a bit bigger than the first sweater sleeves. There's more positive ease in the sleeves on this cardigan because I just wanted it to have a bit of extra drama, which it certainly does have. But yes, I'm going to properly give it its time to shine next episode, but just for now, know that it's done. The knitting is all done. And there was a lot of knitting with half fisherman's rib sleeves and the double knit button band. What this does need is the ends weaving in, and I also still need to put the actual buttons on. The buttonholes are done, obviously, you knit them as I did the band, but the buttons that are going to go down here are not yet attached. So ends and buttons, and then this bad boy is actually finished. I am in the process of writing the pattern. The pattern, as in like knit this number of stitches, is written. I had a bit of a balls up, completely my fault, but I emailed the grader who I worked with for the first sweater, and she's very happy to work with me again, which is great on this cardigan. And we arranged when I would send the pattern over to her, and I misread it as the 3rd of August, and what she actually said to me was the 3rd week of August. So I was scrambling to get everything ready last week, and actually I didn't need to, and I reread the email and was like, oh, actually that's not what she said at all. So what are we on now? The 8th, 3rd week of August, I suppose. Technically that's like the 21st onwards. So still a little bit of time until the grader can do her thing. I'm toying with the idea of sending it to the tech editor for a first look before that. I did contact her the other day and see what she thought about that. I don't want to rush anything, obviously, but at the same time, if she could be looking at like, obviously she won't be involved in like the maths as in the grading maths, but if she could have a first look at like the phraseology and the readability, and if anything's like really obviously doesn't make sense, or she, yeah, possibly could send it to her for that, but I wouldn't want her to start working on it and then the grader also make suggestions and then it get messy. So I'm not sure. I'm going to sit on that for a bit longer. What I'm doing now is like all the bits that might take time later because I have the time now. So like, you know, yesterday I weighed the whole garment, worked out exactly how much yarn I've used. I think I've made a sample size 3 or 4. I've not quite decided yet exactly what the size range is that I want. Obviously I need to do that before I send the pattern to the grader. But I dipped into the 7th skein of both the Filcolana Tilia mohair and the Filcolana Arvetta fingering yarn. So 7 skeins of both would absolutely do this cardigan for my size. I did work out as well that included, I did a lot of swatching for this. I've swatched obviously in stockinette and half fisherman's rib, but I made 2 other swatches to look at like kind of mocking up the construction and things like that. I also swatched up for the double knitting, which I will advise people to do in the pattern as well. So the whole garment and like an excess of swatches for 7 skeins of each. So I think if I recommend that amount, that will be definitely be plenty. So I just wanted to show you that it is actually finished, apart from some little cheeky bits and bobs. During the last episode, I posted about which buttons you guys thought I should use. The spotty ones, oops, or the black ones, and I put a poll on my page, and I don't know if anyone's looked back at it or if like you can see the results, I'm not too sure, but essentially spotty buttons won quite convincingly. I think they've got like 6, it's still live, so you can vote if you want to. I think they've got like 65% of the vote or something like that. So I probably will go with these spotty. Oh, they match my cami, that's funny. Ta-da! Put them on here and then I can be really ultra matching. So yeah, I probably will go with the spotty buttons. I do like them and I think they will look really jazzy. I'll decide last minute when I sew them on and then I'll let you know. But yeah, that's what's going on with the first cardigan. It is basically ready and I'm working on the pattern, and hopefully there will be a test call in a few weeks. But I'm hoping to bring out another podcast episode to tie in with that, so I can explain, you know, all the ins and outs, be wearing it to show you the actual finished garment and all those exciting types of things. So yeah, really, really pleased. There's a lot of work went into this. Like if you've been kind of following along on Instagram and stuff, you'll know that like a lot of thought and time went into like working out how to do particular bits of it, like mainly the button band and like the construction of the v-neck and things like that. So yeah, it's done. The pattern is underway and it's really, really exciting. So yeah, I will just leave that there to be continued in episode 14. So next, let's go on to works in progress. So like I said, apart from one, which I will show you in a sec, all of my works in progress are like summer tops. In fact, they're all camis. So in theory, they should be quick because they don't have sleeves, but in practice, they're not because they're all on like dinky needles. Well, that's not quite true. One of them's on 4.5, so that might be the quicker one. But yeah, I'll just give you a quick update. The first one is my Svila Camisole by Caidree, and I'm going to be completely honest, I haven't really, in fact I don't think I've made any progress since the last podcast, so I'll very quickly show you, but I'm not going to labour the point because there's no point in showing you something that you saw not long ago and nothing's changed. So this is the cami. It is quite creased and there's ends everywhere, but it's got this beautiful lifted increased detail on the cups, and there is actually the same but smaller on the back. And I've used Sandnes Tin Lina in this light green colourway, which is a cotton, linen and viscose blend, and it's really, really, really beautiful and is making a very stunning drapey garment that I think will come into its own when it's blocked. I feel like I've got a bit of a mental block about this, and I think after some kind of having a word with myself, I think it's because I'm scared about how long it should be, and I've never made a cami before, so I don't really have any context or anything to go off. I've started the I-cord sleeves, but I keep hearing like, don't knit them as long as you think you'll need to because they'll stretch. And then obviously if the straps stretch, then that's going to make the fit of the cami change because it will be longer and the cups will be lower, and I'm just not sure. So what I think I'm going to do is I'm wearing a cami today, and I really like this cami. I wear it quite a lot, so I think I might try and base, like, this one's got adjustable straps, so it's a little bit different, but I may try and just be like, right, how long have I got the straps just now? What's the armpit to hem measurement, and sort of try and base it off that, because I've got to start somewhere. It can't just stay in my basket forever, and I really want to get it finished because I actually have done a lot, the majority of the knitting. I've done all the fiddly bits. I've done a lot of the stockinette in the round on 3.5mm needles. I just need to crack on with it. There can't be that much more to do. I'm going to finish it with a folded hem, so I just need to get on with it, really. So that's all I'll say on that one. Hopefully by the next podcast episode I'll have some progress. You heard it here for accountability. So next, let's talk about my June top by Petite Knit. So I hadn't cast. Oh, sorry, I've got a massive pile of stuff over here, and it's got tangled under various things. Oh dear. There we go. I talked about this very briefly in the last episode. I hadn't cast it on yet. I just showed you the yarns that I'm using for it. So these are cotton from Sostrene, which is a shop in Manchester and multiple other places that sells like really, really lovely homeware, but also randomly like yarn. And I went there with Sophie from the Knit Pearl Girl when she came to Manchester, and we both bought some cotton yarn, and the plan was to make the June top by Petite Knit. She bought slightly different colours to me, but we wanted to hold 2 strands of cotton together and do some colour marling like a lot of the people who've made the June tops have done. So I made some swatches for this actually, which I can show you. So I've got 3 different swatches. Here they are. Because I had to experiment a bit with different needle sizes. Now, Petite Knit in the pattern for the June top recommends a 4mm needle and a 20 stitch gauge. However, the suggested yarn is 2 strands of Knitting for Olive pure silk held together, and pure silk is quite a lot finer than this cotton. So I knew that something was going to have to change. So here's a close-up of my swatches. Obviously they're all the same yarn, but they are on different needle sizes. This one, I think this one was the 4mm sample that I did first. Sorry, upside down. Remember. And the marling is beautiful, but it's like, I don't know if you remember, it was very stiff. It felt a bit like a dishcloth. It wasn't quite right. So then, that must be this one. Then I did a 5mm sample, and much, much looser. However, a bit too loose. Upside down, I'm sorry. Just, you know, when you pull it and the stitches come up a bit far apart, I just didn't love it, and held up against the light, it's just a wee bit see-through. So like Goldilocks, I then went for let me make sure I'm getting the right one. Yep, I then went for a 4.5mm needle, and that, like Goldilocks, has done the trick. It's just right. It's like drapey enough, but also not like too drapey. So I'm happy with that. That's what we've gone for. And this is what we have so far. Let me just put those swatches away. Now, there's really not that much to see because it's essentially a very wide tube. This pattern is knit bottom up. I haven't knit something bottom up in a long time. I'm very glad it's still seamless, so I'm happy to give bottom up a go. But this, I don't know how well you're going to be able to see, this is what I have so far. It's curling a lot because it's all stockinette. This will be finished with an I-cord at the bottom, but essentially the colour marling is just really, really nice. It's going to make a really lovely garment. A little close up. Yeah, it's a beautiful, beautiful combination. I feel like it's very me, and I feel like the fabric that's been made is very nice. It's very cotton. It does feel on the thicker side, but I think for this garment it will work. So what I'll just say quickly about this is that not wanting to give anything away, particularly because it's a paid pattern, but there are essentially 2 ways to start this pattern. You can start casting on from the bottom like I have done, or there is a way in which you start partway through the garment with the potential to make it longer later if you want to. I tried to do that, and the method that's used I have used before and found it absolutely fine, but for some reason I just could not get on with it. I think it's because it's done in the round here, and I really wanted to work on this because it's quite mindless. You know, it's literally just stockinette until I reach the armholes. Really wanted to work on it on the train up to Edinburgh to Caroline's wedding, and I just was like, right, I just need to cast this on and be able to knit on it on the train. So that's what I did, and I've got about 16 centimetres done, and I think it needs to be about 28 to 30 before I reach the armholes. That's what pattern says. I'm going to just have a think about that on myself. But yeah, I'm probably about halfway through the stockinette body, and really, really liking the effect of this so far. I'm just going to reset my camera one sec. We are back in the room. So yeah, this is my June top by Petite Knit using 2 strands of Sauterelle Graineur cotton. I don't think they have names. I think they've just got colour numbers, so I won't bore you with those. But it's like this cream and minty green combination. Anything else to say about that? I don't think so. I'm making the size small because I did get the 20 stitch gauge on the 4.5mm needles. I was prepared to do some jiggery pokery and not worry too much about if I didn't meet gauge, as long as the fabric felt nice. So like if the 5mm needle fabric had felt nicer than it did and it didn't meet gauge, which it didn't, I think it was like 18 or 19 stitches, I'd have just gone with it and made some adjustments to the pattern to make the right size garment for me, even knit at the wrong gauge. But it was too loose, so I've gone for the 4.5 because it met gauge and also the fabric felt nice. So that's what we've gone for. So that is that. And then my last summer top WIP is my Camisole number 2. Don't know why I just did that. 2 by My Favourite Things Knitwear, and I am knitting this as a little knit along with my friend Rachel, who is handmade by Rachel _92 on Instagram. I will link her profile in my description box below. But for her 30th birthday, I bought her some Knitting for Olive cotton merino and the pattern for Camisole number 2, and thought it would be really fun if we knit this along together. So we both knit our swatches a while ago, and then I think at the time of my last episode, Rachel was very rudely on holiday, so we had a bit of a delay in starting, but she actually came to stay the weekend before the weekend just gone, and we had a little bit of time to sit and knit together, which was really, really lovely, while our other halves watched the football. How gender stereotypical is that? I was kind of watching the football, but mostly watching my knitting. And yeah, really, really great. So I'll show you the progress I've got so far. This is the Knitting for Olive cotton merino. It's in this beautiful dark sea green colour. Hope that's focusing. There we are. Yeah, it's really, really lovely. It's not 50-50, it's 70, the cotton content is 70% and the merino content is 30%. It's very, very soft, but I think you can tell just by feeling it that it's cotton heavy rather than merino heavy. So it feels very much like a nice summery yarn, but it's not as like dry and heavy as pure cotton, if that makes sense. And the colour is just totally up my street, and also up Rachel's street, hence why I chose it for us. So again, not like loads to show. I'm making the size small of this and got gauge on 3mm needles. So again, very small needle central at the moment. But this is what I have so far. It, like, again, bottom up, ribbing there at the bottom, 1x1 rib I should say, and then we move into the 3x3 rib pattern. So yeah, I've done what, like maybe 6 or 7 centimeters, a lot to go, but it's actually quite mindless, just like 3 knits, 3 purls, 3 knits, 3 purls, round and round we go. So yeah, I'm really enjoying this. I actually was like, oh god, this is taking forever, tiny needles, blah blah blah. Oh sorry, I was actually showing you inside out there. There we go. Not that it matters, it's exactly the same. So I was like, oh, I'm not really getting anywhere. So I put this little progress keeper on yesterday, and you can see that actually I did get somewhere. While we were just sitting watching a film last night, I did that, what you can see above the carrot. So yeah, just kind of, I don't know, I'm quite bad for getting in a rut with like small knits and being like, oh, this is taking forever, it's not getting anywhere. But I feel like just putting a progress keeper on and being like, no, actually, I have achieved something while I've just been sat here watching telly is quite nice. The fabric it's making is really, really lovely. You can see there. Obviously it's not blocked. When it is blocked, it will kind of probably look a bit more like that. That's kind of what my swatch looked like. Yeah, really nice. Cannot wait to wear this. I think it's gonna really suit my colouring, and Rachel's colouring is very similar to mine. We're both redheads. She's got like, she tans a little bit easier than I do. But yeah, it's gonna be really nice. Really, really nice. So yeah, camisole number 2, my favourite things, knitwear, cotton merino by Knitting for Olive in dark sea green. So one more work in progress, also on tiny, tiny needles, which is why I'm like, ugh, a bit small needled out, but oh my god, this one is so cute. So I alluded to it, well, I know I told you about it in the last episode, but I hadn't cast it on yet. I'd just received the yarn and told you about the plan. So my very good friend is having a baby, and the baby is due in October, and I'm making him, because we know it's a him, a little Friday sweater by Petite Knit. I am making the Friday sweater mini instead of the baby, because the mum doesn't want a newborn sweater, because very pragmatically the baby will just grow out of it super quickly. So I'm trying to time it so it fits him when the next winter comes around. So winter autumn 23, I suppose. Just over a year from now. So if he's born in October, he will be 1 the next October. So the smallest size of Friday sweater mini was 1 to 2 years, and I was like, in theory that should be perfect, because he will be like 1 to 18 months for like the autumn, winter, early spring kind of time. But it depends how big of a baby he is. In the last episode I described it as, oh, I wonder if he'll be a dinky donk or a jonky chonk, and Laura at the wedding from Penrose Knits was like, are those technical terms for babies? I was like, absolutely not. That's how it came out. Anyway, I'll stop gassing about it and show you. Be prepared for cuteness overload. Like, I haven't made that many baby knits because not that many people in my life have had babies. But oh my god, like, she doesn't want to know about it, so I can't tell her what sweater I'm making. She sent me a selection of patterns that she'd like, but she wants it to be a surprise, so I can't share any of this cuteness with the mum. She doesn't watch this podcast, so she's happy for me to chat about it, but I'm not allowed to put it on Instagram until I've given the gift to her. So I like have no one to share my joy about it with. I keep showing it to Pete and being like, look how cute it is, and like, he is giving me some good like oh and ooh, but I don't know, I feel like he's like appreciating it as like a tiny item, and I'm like, I need a knitter's appreciation of a tiny knitted item. This is the yarn I'm using. I'm really keeping you in suspense, I'm sorry, not on purpose. Oops. This is the yarn I'm using, Sunday in the colour, Sunday by Sandnes Garn in the colour Kit, which I think means Petite. Caroline, you never formally confirmed or denied that for me. And this is that orange feeling. This is in the Petite Knit Sandnes Garn collaboration colourway. You know what I'm trying to say. So these are the two colours I'm using, and here is the little garment. Oh my god, it's just so cute. There's strings everywhere because I've just split for body and sleeves. But yeah, let me just get it into some kind of format where you can actually see what's going on. I always think sweaters look like super scruffy at this stage, and then suddenly they just come to life, don't they? Right, there we go. It's so cute. I literally can't. Like, look how tiny that is. Like, that's the neckband. That's a sleeve. Like, oh my god. Now, this looks even smaller than it actually is. And to start with, I was like, 1 to 2 years, really? But I kind of forgot that this is in broken rib. So naturally, it's just come together like the rib stitches are sort of, the pearls are just not really a thing, like they're hiding. So it's really a lot smaller right now than it actually will be when it's blocked. But like, oh my god, just look how cute. I really hope that's focusing. Let me do it manually so you can see. Oh, it's actually just adorable. Like, I can't cope with how cute it is. I really, really like this super wide raglan. It's a 9-stitch raglan, which is wicked. And like, honestly, just making this has made me really want like the Friday, is it the Friday tee? Basically the adult version. I really want it because I think it's so cool. But then like, I feel like what is okay to knit in 1x1 rib in something this size, is it going to be okay for me to knit it my size? Not sure. But yeah, when it's blocked out, it will look more like this, and you can instantly see how much bigger that's actually going to be. But like, look how much difference that makes. There. Sorry, I'm just trying to make sure you can see. There. Which is how it's like resting to like there. So yeah, this will look quite different. I sort of broke my own rule with gauge swatching for this, and I don't really know why. I think a bit like with the Camisole No. 2, I did properly gauge swatch for that. I like knit the swatch and then I wet blocked it and I blocked it. But obviously, like, because it's all rib, naturally it like comes really tight together. So I really had to pin it out to get it to meet gauge. And then once I'd pinned it and it dried, it was absolutely fine. It stayed like that. And I was a bit like, well, I will be able to meet gauge because I will pin it to how it needs to be, if that makes sense. Now, whether I've kind of misjudged that with this, I'm not too sure. It's just so small, I can't cope. It's like actually smaller than my head. Oh my god. Because the cotton, that high cotton component of the cotton merino, whether that is going to help that just like stay and have no spring back pretty much once it's blocked, I don't know. I don't know if it's going to be a different story with this, because this is 100% non-superwash merino wool, so maybe I'll have ballsed up, but I don't think so. And also because he's going to be like super between sizes, obviously this is one to 2 years, like I want it way closer to the one end than the two end of the spectrum, so I think it's going to be fine. I did do a swatch, but I just didn't like wet block it, because I was like, well, I will be able to get gauge when I pin it out, because I'll know what the what's the word? I'll know what the gauge I'm aiming for is. I'll know what the measurements I'm aiming for are. So I've kind of just ploughed on the recommended needle size, which is 3mm. So when I come crying that that's all gone wrong, you can remind me of how I skipped a step, and I'll probably regret it. But yeah, Friday Sweater Mini by Petite Knit. It's so cute. I literally love it. Like, I started this last Sunday, not yesterday, the week before, and I haven't worked on this over the weekend because I was starting to get a little bit of ache in this wrist, I think from working like broken rib on such tiny needles. But I literally worked on this for like 5 days in a weekend evening, and then like I was in work, and like, I mean, I've done so much. I'd say I've done like 60% of it. Like, I basically just have to finish the body, but I've already done that much. I think this is about 16.5 centimetres. It needs to be 30. So again, similar to the other, to the June top. Probably just need to do like, you know, the other half of the body, which is now just round and round. And then the sleeves, I mean, look at them. They're not going to take very long, are they? Even on Magic Loop, like... So I do think I've broken the back of this. He's not due to October, but she had her baby shower this weekend, which unfortunately I couldn't go to. So I kind of do want to give it to her soonish, because if I'd gone, I would have probably given her this at the baby shower. So yeah, that is all my WIPs. 3 camis and a baby's jumper. How random. So that kind of leads me on to talk about just a little bit of like autumn winter knitting plans, I guess. I think we're on about 45 minutes, so I'll try not to make this too long, but I just thought it'd be interesting to like be a bit like see where my head is at. Or I've been watching way too much Love Island, clearly. Yeah, just kind of see like where I'm going to go to next once those very summery WIPs are off my needles. So let's just get straight on. So I have a couple of hangover unfinished objects that I need to finish, and they're probably going to be like the first priority for like getting ready for autumn and winter. The first one is my sweater number 11, which I started in the winter, and then as the like spring and summer came along, I just didn't really feel like working on it, and other things kind of like took priority, like the First Cardigan and stuff. And so yeah, I really want to get it finished, ready for when the weather cools down and I can actually wear it. So you've seen this before, you've seen a couple of these things before, so I'm not going to labour any points. It's just a bit of like, remember this, or this is what I'm going to do next. So yeah, sorry if you're like, I've seen all of this before, there's nothing new under the sun. Oh goodness, it's another one that's all tangled up. Honestly, you should see what's going on this table, it's chaos. Right, this has been folded up in my basket for many months, so apologies if it's a bit creased, but yay, here it is. Again, it's not in its best, looking its best, because it's been creased and then it's all like on cords that are too short, but here it is. So This is the, well, I'm doing a mishmash of sweater number 11 by My Favourite Things Knitwear and the Wednesday sweater by Petite Knit. It's got this beautiful twisted rib, what is going to be the collar. I haven't quite decided how high I want it yet, hence why it's just resting on a barber cord. I don't think I want to do the full funnel neck. I know that's kind of one of the sort of poignant things about these patterns, but I just don't necessarily know if I want that. So I've left it that height. What I might end up doing, I don't know if I'll be able to show you, is like maybe knitting even a bit more and making like a folded twisted collar. I think that'll be really cool. It's really hard to show you, I'm so sorry, but you kind of get the idea. But I don't quite know how high I want that to be yet. So that's why it's just resting. This sweater's just got this beautiful like construction of the shoulder seams, which is one of the things I really liked about it. I've almost done one sleeve. It's actually the first time I've ever picked up a sleeve and done short row shaping on a sleeve, which is very interesting. Just kind of helps to angle the sleeve at the shoulder and makes it like stick out a little bit less. So that's most of the sleeve done. I don't think that's far off the cuff, because if I remember rightly, these cuffs are quite like long twisted rib cuffs. The yarn I'm using, I should have talked about that at the beginning, but this fabric is so stunning. It's speckly, and that is because of the yarn I'm using, which is a combination of Peruvian Highland wool in Snow White, and then some hand-dyed mohair from Raya Yarns, who is a hand dyer based in Ireland. So I got some of her mohair in the colourway Artemis, which is here, and it's this beautiful like speckly, purpley, navy goodness. Is that focused there? Yeah. And it's just really gorgeous. So that is what's giving this fabric the beautiful like purpley blue speckles that you see coming through. And I'm pairing that with this Snow White Peruvian Highland wool, which is a really lovely combination that my mum and dad gave me for Christmas last year. So as you can see, probably about 2/3 of the way through this, with the neck partially done, say over half of the body done and one sleeve done. There really is no way to hold this up nicely, I'm so sorry. Yeah, I just need to crack back on with it really. It's on 5.5mm needles, and the combination of the Peruvian and the mohair does make like a sort of heavy DK / Aran, I guess. Can't remember what the exact gauge is now, but essentially it's quite quick, especially in comparison to some of the other stuff that I'm making. I think it might be like either 15 or 17 stitches per 10 centimeters. I can't quite remember. But yeah, I think once I get back going on it and give it a bit of time, it will knit up really quickly, and then it will be ready for the autumn. I mean, with that neckline, however high I make it, I want it like high-ish. So it's probably like a wintry thing really, because it's like a thick wool sweater. But I'm really excited to have this done. Just getting it out the basket has made me like excited about it again. This is what happened when I shot my stash before. I was like, ooh, I remember all these great things I have. So that is unfinished object number, oh my god, like juggling, number 1. Look at this absolute mess. Then the second one is a real blast from the past, and like top brownie points if you recognise this. Are you ready? Oh, what's that attached to? Oh goodness me. There we go. Anybody getting it yet? Anybody? Ta-da! Do you remember this bad boy? I barely do. Never mind anybody else. So yeah, like I said, top marks if you do. This is, again, apologies, it's all curled up as well because it's been hibernating, but this is the original zipper sweater man that I was making for my brother for his Christmas present last year. And I won't bore you with the full story, but essentially there was a saga by which I started making this using a combination of fritted yarn by Sandnes Garn, as you can see here, which is a very rustic 100% Norwegian wool yarn, and I was combining it with drops alpaca silk to try and soften it up a little bit because I was worried about how scratchy the fritted yarn is on its own. The fritted yarn is the recommended yarn for this sweater, well, one of them. And I just had a real hard time trying to figure out what yarn I wanted to use. I kind of wanted to use the recommended if possible, but then I really didn't. Not I didn't like it, I don't dislike this, it just was completely wrong for my brother. Like, he is a bit of a princess, and this was just, it's just not very him at all. I don't know if you can see, I'll try and hold it up. I mean, the fabric, it is beautiful, the fabric it's made is really lovely, but it's very rustic, it's quite scratchy, it's very dense, it's very much outerwear, like a sort of Cardigan sort of vibe. I actually got all the way done with a sleeve, like, so I've done, you know, obviously the big feature collar that the zipper's going to go into. Again, got a fair way down the body, maybe like halfway, not that you can see because it's all wrinkled, but you can kind of see. And then, yeah, like I said, done a whole sleeve, including cuff and bind off and everything. So I did get a fair way with this, and then suddenly I just decided it was wrong. I just decided I didn't want to do it anymore. I didn't want to give it to him, and I wasn't excited to gift it to him, and it was stressing me out. So one mad evening, probably after some long shift at work, I ordered a shed load of drops Nepal, which is an alpaca wool blend, and just started again, which was mental. And I don't think it was that long before Christmas, and I just powered through, and I'll insert the picture of the finished jumper I made for him. And it was perfect. It was right up his street, it was soft, it was drapey, but enough, like the zip held really well. But my God, it was hard work. Just because of, like, technically it's quite difficult putting the zip in, but I just didn't leave myself enough time. I was seeing him on New Year's Eve, and I was inserting the zip on New Year's Eve. So yeah, that's that. But obviously I've now got this, which is, you know, a lot of work's gone into it. It's like more than part finished. Like I essentially need to do the other sleeve, finish the body, and put the zip in, which I know I can sit here and just say that, but I actually don't think it'll be super difficult. And I've now put a zip in, so I know what to expect. So I'm gonna give this to my dad for Christmas, because over the last 3 years, since I've like really been knitting to a decent standard, I've made my dad a jumper, and then the following year I made my mum a jumper, and last year I made my brother a jumper. So it's kind of my dad's turn again. And I don't think he watches these podcasts, so we're in a safe space. Mum does, so Mum, don't tell him, please. Shh. And it's not the end of the world if he finds out, but like this is like proper up my dad's street. Like, he loves like rustic type knitwear. Like, I know that he likes this colour because he helped my brother pick it out, and I'm just like, well, it's partly made anyway, and I think it's really him, so I'm gonna dig this out of retirement and get back to work on it. I can't actually remember now, but I think it's on like 5 or 5.5mm needles, so again, shouldn't take too long, and I'm hoping that I'll, you know, if I'm thinking about it now in August, it should be okay to be done by Christmas, especially because it's half done already. So I'm kind of gifting myself a gift knit because it's half done already. I did half of it last year. So that's that. Don't think there's anything else to say about that. Pop it back in its bag. What next? So I have a design that I need to finish and want to focus on once the first cardigan is like, maybe once the test knit's underway, and there's that sort of period of like 2 months where you're like, I'm really excited, but there's nothing I can do. Not nothing, obviously, if stuff comes up, you react, but it's not the same as having like another design like on the go. You've seen this before again, but just a quick reminder, this is my contrast raglan that I am working on. It's made with Sandner's Double Sunday in whipped cream and statement green. It's got a 2x2 rib collar, and then this like contrast feature, which is crocheted over the raglan stitches. And I haven't seen this for a while because again it's been in my basket, but again I've just got this out and I'm really excited about it again. I think it's very crumpled, and I wonder if at this stage it might be a good time to like part block it so I can just see how everything's sitting. I did try it on a few months ago and I was quite happy with it, but obviously it'll be different when it's blocked. But yeah, I've like finished the yoke, which when you're designing is the most time consuming bit, and made a start on the body, as you can see. Maybe I'll pick up and work one of the sleeves actually. That would be useful to try to like work sleeves, and one of the sleeves, because I like on the first sweater and first cardigan they've been balloon sleeves, so I've just like knit, then rapid decrease at the cuff and then done the cuff. But I don't want to do that with this one. This has got much less ease worked into the whole thing, so the cuffs are going to be worked like with decreases and like more tailored fit to the arm. So now I've done the yoke, the sleeve's probably going to be the next like design challenge with this. So yeah, I need to dig this out of retirement, and the plan is that contrast from the raglan will continue down the body and come together into a split hem worked with 2x2 rib like on the collar. 2x2 rib on the collar, on the cuffs, and on the split hem. So that's that. I'm referring to it as the contrast raglan at the moment. I don't know if I will continue to do so, but for the moment that's what it's being called by me. I mentioned before as well, I'm not sure what to do about the collar. Like I did it like this to be like a stand-up collar, but then when I tried it on I was like, ooh, it would kind of be fun as like a folded collar as well, with the raglan detail going over the fold. So more than one option. I feel like a roll neck or a turtleneck would be a really cool feature as well. So I think I came to the conclusion before that I would need to knit a second sample, but that's okay because there's no way that this will be ready and released this coming winter. Like I know myself and I know my time commitments, and one garment, i.e. the first cardigan, will be more than enough. So that's just a bit of a reminder of this, as much for me as for you, and it is in my autumn knitting winter plans to crack on with this and get a sample finished. I feel like I'm racing through this. I hope it's an okay pace. Next, I do want to just talk about a couple of knit, I suppose they are both kits actually, that I was gifted, towards the end of last year. And just like with everything going on with the first sweater and work, and then the seasons changing, they're both very wintry knits, so I just never got around to using them, which is no, it's not a reflection on how I feel about the gifts or any reflection on how I feel towards either of the brands. It just didn't happen, but they are on my list to crack on with for autumn and winter. So the first thing, and again I have shown you these before so I won't go into loads of detail, is that Rowan Yarns very kindly gifted me some alpaca soft DK in this lovely charcoal colour. to make their Eleanor dress, which I will pop a picture up on the screen. This yarn is absolutely beautiful. It's really soft and I cannot wait to, in fact, I really should swatch with it soon because, oh, sorry, upside down. Remember, I'm doing everything upside down. I really want to see how it's gonna work up in the stitch pattern of the Eleanor dress. It's a wool and alpaca blend. I can't remember the exact quantities, one sec. 70% wool, 30% alpaca, but I like Rowan yarns. I feel like a lot of people, I agree in that they can be quite overpriced, but this one feels really, really nice quality. It has a little bit of a fluffy halo, which I don't know if the camera is going to pick up, which I assume is the alpaca fibres, but just incredibly, incredibly soft. And I love this charcoal colour. So I'd like to swatch that up soon. I think it's in some kind of broken rib type pattern, which will be nice to do after the Friday sweater mini. I did talk in previous podcasts about trying to hack the pattern to knit it in the round, but actually quite a lot of people commented and said, not sure you want to do that because it's a dress and this yarn, well, a knitted dress will be quite heavy just because of how much yarn you'll have to use. And then obviously with the alpaca content, it's going to be quite drapey. They basically said to me, you might want the seams, even though you might not want to seam it, you might want the seams to give the garment some integrity and some structure. And I was like, that's a very interesting point. Maybe that's why it was made seamed in the first place. I know Caroline of Caroline's Knits has, I think it was a test knit. She knit a knitted dress for Easia's Knit last year, and I'm pretty sure that one was knit in the round, and she did that in Drops Nepal, which, excuse me, dry throat, has a similar alpaca content to this. So I may just see what she thinks about that and how the integrity of the garment is held up. But interesting point, maybe I should just stick to the pattern. I just don't like knitting things flat and then seaming them, but if you gotta do what you gotta do. So thank you so much again, Rowan. I haven't forgotten about it, I promise. It's on the list. Just gonna have a drink. Similar to that from Rowan Yarns, We Are Knitters very kindly gifted me a kit to make the zinc blanket, which I still have here actually, because I just have not had a chance to make it, but here it is. The zinc blanket is a blanket made out of their Eco Lana wool, which I will show you in a second, and it's made with 2 strands held double knit on 15mm needles. So once I start making it, I know it's going to absolutely fly. This is the Eco Lana in the colours that I chose. This is raw, dark grey and raw beige, the lighter one. So raw beige and raw dark grey. And these are 100% wool. They feel a little bit rustic, but I think it's going to be fine on a blanket. And I think you hold 1 strand of this with 1 strand of this throughout. And I think that's going to make a really nice colour marl, just like kind of same kind of vibe as with the June top. So I feel like I want to get going on this because it will be so nice to snuggle up under during autumn and winter. And like I said, on the 15mm needles, it's just going to go, and I think it would be nice to pick up something so chunky, like as like an antidote to all the tiny needle knitting that I'm currently doing. So maybe I should get cracking on this. Look at the squish, it's so great. So thank you very much to We Are Knitters. They sent me that kit prior to their interaction with Zara, just FYI. And then I just have 2 more things to talk about. I've previously said that I want to make the My Favourite Things Knitwear sweater number 9, which has a very like iconic raglan structure, and it's been on my to knit list for ages. And I just never got around to it, never had the right yarn in stash. But then last Christmas, Pete, my boyfriend, bought me some really lovely like baby ice blue mohair from Svila Camisole, which, oh, the colour is just stunning. I have shown this before, but I'll show you again. It's really, really lovely, and was such a thoughtful gift. And he made such a good colour choice. So I then purchased some Knitting for Olive heavy merino, which I'm going to pair with this Svila Camisole mohair. This is in the shade Soft Aqua, and I purchased this during the their fundraiser for Ukraine. And I've shown this before, but it's a beautiful, like slightly tonal, light blue colour. There are some blues, there are some greens, there are some creams, and I can't wait to swatch these 2 together because I think it's going to be magic. So I have enough of this in stash to make the sweater number 9. So that's also on my autumn winter knitting plans list. I think I'll start with a swatch. I'm pretty sure I do want to make the sweater number 9. I've wanted to for so long, so I should just do it. And I actually think I only have 6 of these. And I was looking on Ravelry at some other projects that use heavy merino, and that's not really enough for a sweater of other designs. So 99% sure this is going to become a sweater number 9. And then lastly, I don't have any yarn to show you for this, but I want to make Pete a sweater for Christmas. We chatted for a while about like which one he wanted, and he really likes the look of the single malt sweater by Max the Knitter. I know a few people who I know via Instagram have made versions of this. Jonathan's Days made a beautiful navy one, and Laura from Penrose Knits made a blue one for her husband last Christmas. And yeah, the pattern is really, really cool. Got like a nice raglan feature, and the stitch pattern, it's not moss stitch, but I feel like it might be similar to moss stitch, and it's just a really, really lovely sweater pattern. I kind of want one. It's technically like sold as like a men's pattern, but I have seen some projects like where women have made it for themselves, and yeah, I kind of want one for myself. But I think that's what Pete has chosen for his Christmas gift knit. He just needs to choose a yarn colour now. So we were talking about it last night, and we were looking on the recommended yarn for that is a dyed by Dells Aran, which I'm not going to use. I don't think I'm going to use a hand dyed yarn for it. But Pete did quite like the idea of like something a little bit tonal, not crazy tonal, but a little bit tonal. So then I was looking at some yarn alternatives on Ravelry, and a few people have used heavy merino for it, which is like the same as this. It meets gauge, so I gather. I think Jonathan used some dyed by Dells, I think, and I think Laura used drops, maybe Nepal. I can't remember which. She used a drops yarn. But I'm wondering about using the heavy merino. So we were looking on Knitting for Olive's website, and he liked a lot of the sort of like very dark greens, olivey greens. There was one called Soil, which was like a greeny brown. Like that seems to be where he's headed. So it seems mad because it's August, but I was like, you know, if I definitely want to have it ready for Christmas and don't want to be like stress knitting like I was last year from my brother, especially because I have another gift knit planned for Christmas for my dad, although that one's half made. Like I need to kind of like, we need to start planning it now kind of thing. Like just start thinking about the colours that you'd want, and then I can I just feel like if I have the yarn in stash, I'll feel better about it, and I can like make a start on it and not be rushing basically. But I think he might want to see the yarns in person, which I completely understand. It is difficult to judge based off seeing them on a computer screen. So I'm just trying to work out where I could. There's nowhere up here really where that's stock knitting for Olive. Like in London, you could go to like Beautiful Knitters or wherever, and they've got them. Like, and I know Meg No Frills Knitting has them like physically in the shop, so you can go and look at the colours. But we don't really have anywhere like that up here, so I don't know if it's possible to ask for like samples. I feel like that's a bit of a stretch to ask Knitting for Olive, because they'd have to like courier, you know, from Denmark. That just seems mad. It is Denmark, isn't it? I think so. Anyway, not in the UK and not in Manchester. So if anyone knows of anywhere I could get hold of some little like samples or like a colour card, let me know. That'd be really handy. Otherwise, we'll work it out somehow. So I think that's all for today. I feel like that was a bit longer than I intended. I thought I'd whiz through the WIPs and then talk about more on the autumn knitting plans, but maybe like did a bit of both really. But it's really nice to chat after not such a long time. Thank you so much for bearing with me. I'm still upside down. I genuinely don't know how to fix it. Again, if anyone knows how to fix a glitch in the camera, it's a Panasonic camera and it's the flip screen and it just hasn't adjusted when I flipped it to flip the image. So I'm still upside down. I hope it's been okay. I'm really sorry if normally I'd be able to kind of have one eye on the screen and be like, oh, that doesn't look right, or, you know, I use it for checking the focus of stuff. I've tried my best. I'm so sorry if it's not quite up to normal standards. Hopefully normal practice will resume next time and I won't be upside down. This has only happened once before and then it just remedied itself and I've never had the problem since, but just wasn't playing ball today. It's been beautiful as always, chit-chatting away. I'm going to spend my afternoon, oh my god, it's 25 to 3. Ooh. I'm going to have some lunch and then either do some editing of this podcast video or do some bits and bobs with the pattern, maybe both, who knows, how exciting. The sun is back out, so maybe I'll spend a bit of time outside. Mowed the lawn yesterday and like trimmed the border of the flower bed that got like super out of hand. So right now the garden is looking peak, so I should really go and sit in it and enjoy all my hard work. But everything I need to do is inside on the computer, so that's a bit annoying. Anyway, I'm rambling now, so I will stop rambling. Thank you so much for watching. Thank you for all your continued support. It would be amazing if you enjoyed this episode if you would subscribe. It just like and like this video, sorry, and leave a comment. It really helps like boost the video within the mysteries of the algorithm. Feel free to come and say hello over on Instagram as well. And next episode should be in 3 to 4 weeks, and I really hope that I'm able to say some solid information about the first cardigan and the testing process and all those really exciting bits and bobs. So take care, happy knitting. Let me know what you've been working on. It's so nice to hear like what everyone's been knitting as you listen to me yabber on. Yeah, hopefully I'll be back in about 3 to 4 weeks, not upside down. Take care everyone, bye.